Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Jimmy Palumbo Show, a non-bitter Tuesday here from the Omni in downtown Atlanta via Mawa, and I believe
I'm back in Denellen. I'm at home today.
Back in Denellen today for show number 215, a very special show. We have a very special guest coming on later, which I'll quite preview for my audience for those who know. But of course, show number 215, 251 of these ding-dongs. And of course, that means Tommy Hendrick, Red Ruffing, Tom Tresh, Yankee baseball players, legendary.
Somebody's laughing in the green room already on your stupid references.
Yeah, in the 30 and 40, Tom Tresh. Who's talking about Tom Tresh in 2025?
You are.
Then, of course, you got Thurman Munson. I got to, and you got Hostetler. I can't deny that. But then you got, Golden Tate Day here at the stadium. And also your friend and mine, Mr. Tommy DeVito, probably no longer a Giant quarterback.
Oh, don't give him. Hey, come on. He can beat out all 7 of them.
Listen, yeah, why not? I mean, right now, DeVito's ranked higher than Shador. And then, of course, you got for I always do something for Dave's dad, which is Tony Fritsch.
How about Babe Laufenberg? Come on now.
Babe Laufenberg was my next one coming up.
That's coming out of Tyson Hogan, by the way. That wasn't me.
I know my guy in the green room is crying. I just said Tony Fritsch, a kicker for the Cowboys in the 70s. Oh, my God. Then you got Vince Ferragamo, and, of course, everybody's favorite, Neil Lomax. I got to mention, there's some guy on the Chiefs, Mahomes or something. I got to mention him, I guess.
He's all right.
And then, of course, you got Earl Morrall. Earl Morrall, whatever his name is. I believe he was in the Super Bowl in 69.
What about, you're forgetting a key component.
And then you've got Bart Starr at quarterback.
Nah, I wasn't going there. I was going, I'm pretty sure, and I don't think I'm wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure the man above is a little upset that you didn't talk about Tim Tebow being number 15.
Was he 15?
I believe so, yeah.
Was he? I didn't see his name anywhere at shit.
Maybe
he was.
You didn't see his name. You can't see him. He can walk on water, but he can't throw a football.
That's true. He can walk on the water, but he stinks. Although I always get the feeling of some game a full year, he might have been just fine. I feel that way about the quarterback on the Penn State, too, a couple of years ago. And the little guy, what's his name, threw the bomb for
Flutie.
Flutie. All Flutie did, he every head coach, Flutie, this is my opinion. This is a jerk-off opinion right now. Every head coach, nope, sorry, back up. Then the starting quarterback got hurt, and Flutie wants 8 out of 9 in the offseason. They cut Doug Flutie, goes to another team. Nah, we can't start Doug Flutie.
Didn't he win the Grey Cup or some shit, or like Canadian?
Every time Flutie played, he did well. He's too small. Because you know why? He did a very rare thing. When he started at the 20-yard line, he got in the end zone. I don't care how he got there. I don't care if he shot people. I don't care if he had poisons going on. Oh, my God. Anyway, so now, of course, we got a baseball card, as we know, the top of the show. 215 of these shows. And I got your friend in mind, Mr. Jeffrey Leonard. And as always, I don't know. You definitely don't remember this guy. He played from 77 to 1990. He batted .266, 144 home runs, 723 RBIs, 14 years in the big, and he made decent money, around $900,000, which is a lot for back then. Played with the Dodgers, Houston, San Francisco, Milwaukee, and Seattle. His best year at Shea was 1984. He batted .302, 21 home runs, 86 RBIs, and 17 stolen bases. Basically, he's like Soto now. So he would be completely making $20 million a year. But he's got some unique things. In 1987, the Giants NLCS, he was the last player to win MVP on a losing team.
Well, the Cowboys did that once upon a time.
He was 10 for 24 with 4 home runs in a 7-game series. They lost, though. And he was the MVP, lost to the Cardinals. He went to the same high school as Will Chamberlain. That always makes me laugh.
Are you done with fun facts? Like,
I love it. I love it. I know you hate it. I love it.
It's not that I hate it. It's just like there's going to be a couple people that do this. Like when they're listening to your obscure facts, they're going to go, oh.
He went to the same high school as Will Chamberlain. See, that's funny.
Shit. I wonder if they retired his number, or was it just Shador?
He was also known as the one flap down. When he hit a home run, he didn't move his one shoulder as he ran around the bases, pissed a lot of teams off. He was also involved, sadly, in the 1985 Pittsburgh Coke controversy with all that. They all had to testify. Everybody was doing blow. He was one of them. So he was a cokehead. And he was known as, his nickname was, he always swung at the first pitch. And he was known as Penitentiary Face because he looked mean all the time in the dugout. But here's the best. In a woke moment later in his career, he insisted on them calling him Correctional Facility Face.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. So that's your friend and mine. He also fought during brawls on the field. He threw like a Don Zimmer.
You know what's so funny about that is you bring up brawl. I think it happened the other day. I'm not sure exactly what game it was. It was a Yankee game because Michael Kay was on the call. And he's like, is the most pointless thing in the history of things, like the run from the bullpen. Like, so here we come. And they're just bolting out there. And then they get there and like, so what's up? How's the family? All right. Everything's good. All right. We're going to go back to the bullpen now. Nothing ever happened. Somebody throw a fucking punch.
Well, I think Lloyd Graham didn't back in the day. You were
Graham Lloyd. You had dyslexia
and also
there.
Also Darren Strawberry.
Strawberry. First of all, CeCe Sabathia would have crushed all these people.
It's so great.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my guy, Jeffrey Leonard. He now works for the San Francisco Giants as an ambassador to the stars, whatever the hell you call that. Of course, Patreon. We are a Brunson-esque in our Patreon right now. We are up to 51. We are looking for a number 52. We need a Pepper Johnson. We are starting to really catch Joe Rogan, and he's getting a little nervous about it.
He's feeling the heat. He really is feeling the heat.
Basically, I didn't sign. I signed one person this week, which happened last week during the show, but I just need Tyson Hogan to have more kids, and then we'll have more Patreon members. And also, this whole thing is sponsored by ChasingMiracles.com. Reminds me of the Knick game last night. ChasingMiracles.com. These are stem cell patches. Shit your body needs. I'm wearing them every day. I'm feeling good, especially with the Knick win. So go to ChasingMiracles.com. Talk to Tommy and Donna. They got all kinds of cool stuff, all kinds of stuff on that site. You'll love it. They're good people. And go check that out. We could use a few sales coming through from the Jimmy Palumbo Show. So anybody thinking about trying this crazy thing, give it a shot.
Tyson's also coming in saying that he'll ask his father if he'll become a Patreon member.
Listen, without Tyson Hogan, this place there's nothing going on here.
And Jimmy, let's not get too far ahead of the show because I know sometimes we ramble right past it. But ladies and gentlemen, if you have the time on May the 30th, please come on down to the Avenel Performing Arts Center as Jimmy Palumbo hosts Jimmy Palumbo and Friends with Ryan Mayer and Liz Glazer.
There's nothing better than when Dave Sturcio checks in as a producer and just bangs a back. He called it off the backboard for
Knicks take a 1-point lead.
Yes, May 30th. We need some fans there here at Shea. We got to sell more tickets, obviously. It's a great little place to see a show. The comics are great. Ryan Marr's great. And Liz is really funny. And we're gonna have a good little show. Come down.
Ryan Marr is a Chop Studios
he's a
member now. He's getting over there today, so I'll be hanging out with Ryan a little later on today.
There you go. Ryan's a good guy. You guys are involved in that wrestling shit, which I know nothing about. I know nothing about it. You guys are experts. I know it's huge, but I just don't know anything about it.
That wrestling.
Like you don't know pickleball. I don't know wrestling. Same thing. Pickleball is probably bigger than wrestling. I guarantee there'll be some kind of pickleball wrestling thing.
Listen. I scroll past it. I have Fubo TV and I have some obscure channels. And one time I was just flipping through, and then there was a whole tournament of pickleball. I'm like, this is. But
just remember, I will tell you this: no matter how big it gets in this world, what is always the killer when it's not good on TV? It doesn't work. And remember lacrosse 10 years ago? Oh my God, this is going to be the new great sport. And then you watch it on TV, and that'll do it here.
I just remember jonesing for anything around the pandemic, and we were like, cornhole. All right, let's go.
Please, that show. That's the only show I was like, you know what? I'd rather watch the what's that? The fire log thing Christmas time than what the hell
that's the Yule log.
The Yule log. I'm losing my mind here, Jay.
Yeah.
You know why I'm losing my mind though, Dave?
Not
that I have filthy carpets. That'll come later on here. But we have a very special guest. Now, those of you who have been following the Jimmy Palumbo for 215 episodes, I use a phrase because I like to say like Jeffrey Leonard, and I like to say things like Tom Tresh. And I know that makes one person laugh. And I always say he drives off the road. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time here on the Jimmy Palumbo Show, your friend and mine, Steve Venditti. Diddy, what's up, bro?
Hello. Glad to be on. I'm honored that you invited me on.
Now we promise. Listen, I've known Steve since I think around the year 2000, and how we met was I had a shore house in Manasquan with like 10 asshole buddies, and he had a shore house in Manasquan with his 10 asshole friends. And Memorial Day weekend, the whole house all had somewhere else to be except for me. I looked like Marvin Webster on a breakaway, and then he just drove off the road while he's on the show.
He drove off his seat on it.
So but my buddies kept on calling up who's. And we had 3 new girls in the house, and the 3 girls we had all were wearing LSU shirts, and they were all 10 years younger than me. I was just trying to shuck them at the line. I was down 28-0 early Friday afternoon. I was done with I couldn't cover anybody. But all the guys were calling me, who's in the house, who's around, who's next door, who's across the street. And then the girls from our house went across the street to these guys from Secaucus, New Jersey. And there I am sitting there looking through the window, talking to my buddy Tommy going, the girls went across the street. They're yelling at me. I'm like, I couldn't guard any of these girls. I got called for like 3 pass interference. So all I know is there was these 5 guys sitting around a little table, and they all had Miller Lights. And all I remember was they sat there, like at noon, they started drinking. Then the girls came over, and the girls eventually left, and the guys sat at the table drinking. Then it was 2:00, and they were still at the table drinking. Then it was 4:30 in the afternoon. I'm like, I call up my buddy, Tommy, I don't know about these guys, but I tell you what, they haven't moved from that table, and all I see is boxes of Miller Lights. I swear, I swear they drank 10 cases of beer. And even when the girls came over, they were hot too. And I'm like, they don't care about the girls. They just want to drink. I think we might have to recruit these guys. They're our kind of guys. So I went over there. First of all, I was a 35-year-old veteran throwing junk. And that's how I met Steve Venditti. And then I found out something very cool. Steve, I got to finally let you talk now because I wanted to give you a good preview. I found out that you work for the football Giants. And so I got to ask, like, Steve, what's your day-to-day? What do you do for the New York Giants?
So the title is assistant video director. So it's really co-video director. There's 2 people, me and Carmen Pisano, who this is a 2-man job, even though we get everything done with 2 guys, right? A lot of different teams have 4 or 5, whatever. But we're able to handle the day-to-day operations with 2 people. And what we do is we do anything and everything for the coaches, for the scouts, pro scouts, college scouts, coaches. We handle all their video needs, right? We have an application we call Catapult, Exos. And every coach uses it, every scout uses it. And we're in charge of putting the video in there, breaking the video down, which we call cut-ups, so they can watch easier.
Do you have to get, like, if the Giants are interested in some safety from Iowa, they send that video to you guys and you cut it up for them?
So what the NFL does is they have a relationship with the NCAA. So NCAA every week will send college video, right? And the college video goes to this hub called the NFL Dub Center, which is basically NFL Films down in South Jersey. And in that hub is all the college games. They just keep pumping it in there, and every NFL team then grabs it. So every NFL team has the same access. Same thing with the NFL. We send our game to the Dub Center when our game's done, and every NFL team then grabs it, and then they have the same video.
Now, when I go to Giant Stadium, I have season tickets, but I don't get there as much as I'd like to. For reasons we'll hold off on. But I see you. You're actually I see you work in the actual camera. Yes. Last time I saw you, you were in the end zone upper deck with your camera with the one guy had like the Fox feed or CBS feed, and you were just doing the Giant feed, but you had 4 camera guys all around 50-yard line and stuff like that.
Yep. So the camera locations, we have end zone, 2 end zones, one on either side and a sideline. And the same thing with the opposing team. They have the same guy, right? So we shoot, there's a tight end zone, a wide end zone, and another tight end zone. So there's actually now there's sideline, end zone. So now there's 4 angles, right?
Right.
There's a sideline, tight end zone, another tight end zone, and a wide end zone, right?
Right.
So we then we shoot all that. The opposing team shoots all that. After the game's done, we start during really halftime. We start loading all those sides of those camera angles. We load them into a computer. So then, by the time the game's done, the coaches can watch tape. So they're watching tape on the bus.
And all this is shareable. Like there's nothing secretive in the NFL. So like the Cleveland Browns, the Detroit Lions get all the same stuff.
Yeah.
Now, can say you play the Lions in a month, can they get the tape from a month earlier, or is it only a week earlier?
No, they have the whole library, the whole season. Back how many years?
There's got to be that's a lot of film, Steve. You would think that you would need people to break it down and tag film and log film. Do you have guys that do that by any chance?
So it is. So for our stuff, our angle, we have these they call quality control coaches. It's like the entry level basic job of entering the NFL. Your first job is quality control, and that's part of your job is to break down the tape. In like an Excel field, basically.
I was more or less talking about some bitch ass interns that used to have to log film.
Now those of you,
$100,000.
those of you scoring at home, Steve Venditti has a very, very close relationship with my co-host Dave Sturchio, because Dave Sturchio entered the Meadowlands area as a Cowboy fan and got a job again. I'm not going to question the Giants. If I worked for the Giants, if you were a Cowboy fan, I'm like, oh, that's great. Take it easy. But they hired Dave Sturchio. And Steve, so you worked with Dave back in what year?
Right.
The Super Bowl season.
2007. It was the Super Bowl year. So
by the way, I didn't get a ring.
I should have put my. So my former job was, when I first got hired by the Giants, I was in TV production. Then in 2008, I switched over to coaching video. So when I was working with Dave, I was in TV production. That's why we hired him. He was hired as I didn't care. He was a good worker. That's all that mattered. I don't give a shit what you followed. It didn't matter. Jet fan.
Look at that. Look at Venditti being a pro.
That's all that mattered. You know.
I did get yelled at a couple times.
By the way, first week, but week one in, we gave him a nickname, Dave Sturchio. That's why. I never knew the name Dave Sturchio. I only knew was. Do you remember your nickname?
Yeah, it was Zamboni.
Zamboni. I gotta bring.
Because when I got hired by the Giants, my part-time job was driving a Zamboni for 5 years.
And I think you might have said that on your resume, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I was either Zamboni or Boney, which is even worse. But it was yeah.
One of the coolest things I've ever done with Steve, believe it or not, Giants, definitely was the old Giant Stadium.
Yeah.
There was a Springsteen concert. This is classic.
Oh, yeah.
This is where me and Steve can get. This is where, like, if I work for the Giants, we both be fired in 2 days, because we get there and everyone's excited for the Springsteen concert. But meanwhile, Venditti's showing me the locker room, all this different stuff. And the cool thing was, it was right after the final cut. So in front of everyone's locker room, and Dave, you probably saw this as well, but to me it was cool, was a giant bag, like a net bag in front of each locker room. And the Giants and the NFL provide the new player or a veteran player with all their shit that they get to wear, a golf shirt, this shirt, all this Giant stuff. And it was really cool because Steve said, hey, look, for some of these guys, this is a big deal. That means you made an NFL roster and they give you this stuff. However, Steve also got shirts every year. And after a while, he's like, he would leave them at the short house. I actually have like 4 of Venditti's shirts. I gave one to my,
first of all, you know how degrading that was for me when they're like, hey, go in that bin and just grab yourself some swag. And I'm like, oh my God. Look at all these shit.
That had to have been, on the sideline on game day, you got a Giant shirt on.
One of my favorite pictures ever is somebody took a picture of me watching the Cowboys-Giants game from the sidelines. But the problem is I got this blue and red fucking Giants jacket on. And I'm like, this is so embarrassing right now.
I imagine me working in Dallas. Oh my God. So here's another.
Anyway, that same night, I don't want to interrupt, but that same night, you ended up taking something home. Do you remember what you took home? It was in my office.
I took home the 81 Giant team picture, which is still hanging on my wall right now.
Okay, throw it away. He's like, no, don't throw it away.
this is a perfect lead-in to why me and Steve are just crazy people. As Dave leaves the show, he can't handle talking about the Giants. There was, first of all, there was a placard, a small placard of the 81 Giants, which to me is my favorite Giant team. The first year they made the playoffs, all that stuff. But one night, Steve, if you remember this is classic. We're at the Shore House. You got to remember, it was Sodom and Gomorrah. There was girls coming in and out, guys drinking, just regular Jersey Shore stuff. And we were young. Steve was young. I was way too old for it. Steve came in the house, and I don't know if Dave can appreciate this. I don't know if he can, but with like 6 videos from they do the NFL Films does the year in review of each team.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of having like the 86 Giants and all of that, he had like the 82 Giants, the 89 Giants, all the right. So you understand, our house was filled with hot chicks, girls, right? And Steve and I are in like our bathing suits, right? We're drinking a couple of beers on the couch. We had a VCR, right? That's how long ago this was. Even though it was DVD era, we still had an old VCR, which I think Steve might have even brought down. So we pop it in, and you got to remember, there were some Giant fans in the house, right? But nobody had the crate. We were watching the 84 Giants, the 89. No, not the 84 Giants. They were good. Maybe it was the 89. I forget. All of a sudden, we start watching this, and we literally, I had the remote in my hand. We had to stop and rewind. I'm like, oh, my God, look at that's John Scora band Giants all over the place. We literally, everybody left the house. They all went to DJs and leggings. And me and Steve never left. We came back in. It was like we were drinking beer, hands in our pants, sitting there watching videos. And my buddy Tom was like, you guys are still watching Giant videos from the 80s? I'm like, we never went out.
As much as you've stolen, Jimmy, from Steve, I'm sure you've stolen a lot of his stuff. There was a gift. Steve, I don't know if he still works there. Is Joe Skiba still the guy who does the No? All right. No. So he was the equipment manager back then. Yes. And he hooked me up with this, which I still have to this day. This is Terrell Owens' second touchdown ball. When the Cowboys came. Cool. He snuck that to me. He's like, do not say anything. And I'm like, oh, I won't. I went home with that shit, and I still have it to this day.
That's so great.
When the Giants played in the playoffs against Dallas, didn't you go down there? Weren't you there? Did you go to that game? Did you go to that game?
No, I was at Fox and the Hound in Edison for that debacle.
Oh,
but no.
I thought you went.
No. You assigned me. You ready for this? You assigned me to log the film and be in studio for the Packers game. So I was sitting there, and I'm like sitting there by myself now in the control room, and I'm like, man, the fucking Giants better not get to the Super Bowl, bro. This is gonna be bad, you know. So here I am watching Brett Favre. I'm like, oh my God, because I remember you played the Packers that year in Giant Stadium.
Yes.
And I remember Brett Favre, I think he threw a pick 6 to R.W. McQuarters or somebody else. And the whole crowd goes absolutely batshit nuts. And Joe Scacciafaro looks at me, and I'm the only one not excited about this. And I remember him looking at me dead in the eyes and goes, "What's the matter, Boney? What's the matter?" And I was like, oh, God. I was like, no, it's all good. I just saw Brett Favre throw a pick 6. We're all good. A legendary moment for myself. But, yeah, that was I have stories for days of that internship. Oh, my God.
That's so great. Now, listen, there's also a couple of other Venditti stories. So, okay, now we got to talk about your dad because I think this is funny. Venditti's father is legendary in Giant and New York Yankee lore in terms of the ownership and the way they run things. Babe Venditti, they called him Babe. Now, my story with the Babe, he ran security at Giant Stadium and at Yankee Stadium, okay? So I got tickets to the All-Star game at Yankee Stadium. I guess it was 2009 when stadium was new. Was that?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay. But I had a gig, and my brother and dad, my dad was in his 80s. They got the tickets. I get there in like the 4th inning, and I didn't care. I was scrambling for tickets. I didn't have a ticket. I gave it to my dad and brother. I said, I'll get in somehow. Someone's got to be selling them. I end up at one of the bowling alley bar, which is no longer there.
No, it's there. It's just under a new name.
And the guy goes, "Beer League, you're from Beer League." I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I'm trying to get into Beer League. He goes, I'll take my ticket. I'm not going in. I go in with the ticket. I go up to a gate, right? And the guy's like, nah, I can't let you in. I'm like, why? I just got here. I was running late. Because now the ticket takers, they're gone. The people with the radio, the little click thing. I said, what are you talking about? I was running late. I mean, I would go to the game. I bet my brother and dad are inside. Try gate 2. I go all the way around. Finally, someone says, you got to go to the press gate. So I go to the press gate, and they're like, no, I'm sorry. We sent everybody home. The ticket. I'm like, what do you mean you sent them home? Here's my ticket. Let me in the building. It's a shitty All-Star game, which I can care less about. I want to go hang out with my dad and brother and watch an All-Star game. So then all of a sudden, I see this guy, looks like Beefsteak Charlie, black hair and a mustache. And I knew.
He doesn't know Beefsteak Charlie.
Okay, I know. That's why. See, Venditti just drove off the road. See how he's laughing right now? That's how he's laughing.
That's how you know he laughs every week.
Anyway, so I see this guy, and I'm like, the only reason why I knew this guy, because when we used to go to games with my buddies from the Shore House, we get so drunk, we always got thrown out. I never got in a fight, but the guy would be like, all right, that's it. You guys got to go. And then we just went to the bar. It happened like 8 times. So I knew that guy was head of security. I was like, oh, that's the guy right there. He had a jacket on. He looked mean and tough. So I go up to him and I said, hey, man, I think we can help me out. I'm trying to get into the game. And he's looking at me like, well, you should have got here on time. You go through the whole thing. And all of a sudden, for some reason, I just said, you know what? I'm friends with the Babe, Venditti, and his son, Steve. And he stops in his tracks. And all of a sudden, he gave a real nasty look. He goes, so you're friends with the Babe? I said, yeah, I met him a couple times down in Spring Lake. I said, he passed away a year or 2 ago. I think it was something like that. And he's like, oh, yeah, so you know the Babe. And then he goes, why didn't you say that? He opens up the thing. He goes,
is this Oz?
He opens up the door. He opens up the door, and he says, he looks at me, he goes, you're friends with the Babe? And I know his son, Steve. He goes, go inside and sit wherever you want. Even if you want to pitch in the 5th inning, go ahead. You'll never get kicked out of here. I'm like, ah! I walked in. I called my brother. I sat next to him. The place was filling out. It was like the 5th inning. I was like, my God, Babe Venditti. So I told the story to Steve, and then you started telling stories about your dad collecting. I don't know how much you want to say this, but talk about your dad.
All right. So well, now that we're on episode 215, right? We'll talk about Munson. Quick story. Thurman Munson dies, right? Plane crash. And in the locker room, they're just packing up his locker. They're just packing up his equipment and throwing stuff away and giving things away. And, you know, nothing was of importance to anyone at that time, right? There was no value, right? For bats and helmets and blah, 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 and gloves. So, you know, they were just tossing it, you know, and they're like, you know, my old man's there, and they're like, do you want something? He's like, yeah, I'll take a bat and I'll take a helmet. So we have a Thurman Munson bat at home and a helmet that was getting just thrown away, you know, because there was no one
throw away helmets that easily, just throw away helmets.
Whatever they were doing with it, they're probably just I'm assuming they were just chucking it. And that was like one thing of like, you know, just would have gotten tossed. But in the you know, throughout all his years, he started in 1958, right? Worked all the way through 1986, and that was, you know, that was enough. But anyway, so he went to every home game, right? So, and in that time, again, there was he'd get autographs. He'd have team autographs, player autographs, opposing teams, All-Star, Old Timers Day autographs, balls, like insane. And he got
to remember, this is at a time where people weren't doing that, not like it is today.
Right. It wasn't there was no value on it. It was just like a cool thing. All right, cool. I got, you know, but another funny story is he grew up in Staten Island, and he played baseball with a guy named George Bamberger, who ended up being the Mets manager and the Brewers manager, and he was a longtime pitching coach with the Orioles when they won their World Series with Earl Weaver, and he also grew up with Bobby Thompson, who had that shot her around the world in '51.
Yeah. And
they all played baseball together. He didn't make, obviously my old man didn't make the pros, but those guys did. But he always was friendly with them. And so one story is one night they're in the city, and they always went to PJ Clark's. My dad would go there a bunch, you know, meet them in the city, whatever. So one night, my dad's home, and he gets a phone call from Earl Weaver. And he's like, it was like late night, you know, 2 o'clock in the morning. He's like, what's up? He's like, where we got in trouble. We need your help. He's like, what'd you do? He's like, Cal Ripken Sr. got arrested. For what? He was pissing in the subway. So they locked him up because we need your connections. We got to get him out.
Oh
So,
man,
phone call, he's out of jail.
I love it.
funny.
Now you told me something now before when you moved your mom out that in the basement was your basement was filled with it would be like a hall of fame. But you also told me a story. Now verify this. Maybe I was half in the bag when you told me that the famous Roger Maris home run ball. Okay. Now I'm going to tell the story. You real quick. So they hit the home run. They get the ball back, but Venditti's father just throws the ball into a drawer with a bunch of other baseballs. And at the end of the game, they're like, hey,
Which home run ball are we talking about here?
the 61 one.
Jesus Christ!
and your father's supposed he just grabbed any balls. I think it was this one. And handed to the guy. And that is like, now is that story true? That is
So
terrible.
the story goes, he was working security in right field, because they knew it was going to probably be a home run there. So the home run's there, and the guy, Sal Durante, gave it up pretty quick. So there you go, and gave it to him. And the ball changed hands. Then my old man had to give it to somebody else, and it all down the line before it even got to the end of the game where they take a picture of Roger Maris, and Sal Durante, and my old man's in the back. So the point, the story goes is no one knows where the real ball went. Sal Durante, they went on the morning shows and all that other shit with the baseball, but is that the real baseball? No.
That's amazing.
Well, first of all, arguably before,
and this thing probably auctions for like millions of dollars.
Well, at the time, that ball up until the steroid and then Judge, that was the most. That was like the.
I think
what do you call that thing?
He got money for it, and back in the 61, whatever, he ended up. I think he sold it, got money for it, and bought a house and got married, and that was like his start of his life. Was that ball? Like it was like his way up.
And we don't even know if it was the actual ball.
Right. We don't even know if it was the actual ball.
That's amazing.
So quick story again. We're at my old man's wake, right? It was in Staten Island, the wake, and then this guy shows up. No one knew who he was. Everyone, it wasn't a family member. He wasn't a friend. It was like, so something. He's like, hey, I'm Sal Durante. I just wanted to, show up. He was might have been living in Staten Island for all I know. I saw the obituary, blah, blah, blah. So, paying my respects. I'm like, that's pretty cool, Sal.
So the guy who got the ball showed up at your dad's wedding. That's hysterical. Oh my God.
That is that's some crazy.
Now, you
crazy
also
shit.
told me your dad was a character through and through. I know he worked for a car dealership, which I think your brother still works there. Maybe
he works for Mazda, the company now, but he used to work.
Okay, and as you told me back in the day, Dave, this is going back when I was a little kid. Yankee players, very famous ones, Rizzuto, DiMaggio, all the Mantle, would show up at a car dealership on a Saturday because all the car dealership wanted to do was get people on the lot.
Sure.
And then they would pay these famous Yankees cash. They'd sign autographs. Again, nobody cared about autographs then. And then they would go. And the dealership had a connection, which was the Babe Venditti to get these guys in. Now tell me more about that, Steve.
So we had, so the car dealership, so we had, he started working there, and
Flemington, right?
Owner,
Flemington.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The owner. My old man for years was
I think my mother worked there. No bullshit.
Wait, hang on. What did your dad do, Steve?
So he was always in the vending machines, taking quarters out of, whatever, pool tables and jukeboxes and, all that stuff. And then, that ran dry in the early 80s, and he knew the owner of this car dealership. It was a small at that time, and he's like, yeah, I need a job. I go, all right, so I'll hire you. Not to sell cars, just to work like anything but selling cars, driving cars to places, whatever. So good enough, perfect. And so in that, my old man had all these connections. At that time, George Bamberger was the manager of the Mets. That was 82. Around that time, he had Yankee connections, obviously. Then with all his other baseball connections, he had Philadelphia Philly connections. He had Chicago Cub connections. So all that said and done, all these people would get, not players, but some coaches and all that, and players would get cars, free cars. Just, and they would do these promotions off of that, And that was before, like now a baseball team would never do that because now there's full-fledged PR staff and community relations staff. There was nothing of that then. It was just like Yeah, it was doing favors.
It was
Bro,
Venditti's dad was in charge of PR.
Show up at a golf outing that we're having. Boom, all day golf outing. Boom, show up at a Christmas event we're doing. Show up at
now they all want thousands and thousands of dollars for an appearance.
I mean, it's just amazing. They all did it. They all did it. That's
crazy,
phenomenal. So that was that's that story in a nutshell. So.
That's crazy. I love that.
Yeah.
So now, well, listen. I remember telling you, and I don't really want to talk about the current Giants because you work there. And listen, we're just a bunch of fans, and I get aggravated and frustrated. But it's got to be, I remember one time we're on a famous group thread with me, Venditti, and 4 other guys, and at one point we're like, we forget that if the Giants aren't playing well, that you work there. It's got to be shitty to work when your team's not doing well. From the guy cleaning the bathrooms to John Mara at the top. It's just when something about sports teams, when you're working for a sports team and they're not winning, that's got to be like. And you've been through some major coaching changes. And what's it like tell me what it's like for an employee of the Giants. You do not work for the coaches. That you told me that years ago. You work for the Giants. What is it like when a new coach comes in? Like is everybody like on edge? They nervous, or is it like
you have to gain relationships again, So we did it a long time with Tom Coughlin, and that was because a lot of the coaches didn't change. Right? It was just like year in, year out, the same guys. The GM was this. It was like consistent. And once that went out, and then Pat Shermer comes in with a new staff, and Joe Judge comes in with a new staff, and now Brian Dable comes in with a new staff, and it's a new staff, and it's a new GM a couple of years ago, and they don't know you, they don't know what you can do, they don't know you're Venditti, right? They don't know, so you just gotta. Some
of them got to listen to my show, and then they'll know who Venditti is.
You got to earn their trust, and you got to make sure you keep doing the right thing, and keep showing them that you can do this, right? That they can use you effectively, not just the head coach, the assistant coaches as well.
Now, didn't you actually get hired by John Mara at the time, who was not the owner? It was the son of the owner, but he was in charge of like that. So you got hired by the owner of the Giants, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, and now that's I don't think it's grown so much, this organization, that there's so many layers that I doubt he's doing, unless it's a vice president or something. If he's hiring a low level assistant, a marketing person, right? He's not doing the interview. You know what I mean?
Right. But back in the day, a lot of the NFL teams were mom and pop shops. A lot of them were.
They were.
They were making billions of dollars with 11 people running the show, which now, of course, it's the money's out. Now, can you tell the story? I always worry. I don't want to have you tell the story. You tell the story of Tom Coughlin needed a ride to a writer's dinner in New York.
Oh, he was a delight, by the way.
And he said, "Get me Venditti. He'll know how to get." Now, was that true? Like a rugby? That's hysterical to me.
So Tom Coughlin had his J Fund dinner. His own nonprofit, whatever. And it used to be in Jacksonville, and he came to New York. He started doing these dinners in the city, and it was obviously they were going to have a car service and all the whole thing. He's like, "Nah, I'll just have Venditti do it. He knows that he'll get it there." So I started doing it for like 4 years.
But it's not like you were driving a Mercedes or anything. You had
I had GMC Jimmy.
Get in the Jeep.
You got in the car with the Super Bowl winning head coach Tom Coughlin. And I know you when you drive to the city. If you've ever I followed Venditti one time to the city. He doesn't go through the Meadowlands. He's actually in the marsh. He drives on those roads that say no one go past here. There's alligators, electrical wires. You will not. Then he figures out a way to wiggle around. It's unbelievable. You know that area better.
I got to ask Steve at this point of your career now, because look, when I was there, it was everywhere I turned. I was like, oh my God, it's this guy, or oh my God, it's that guy. Yeah. Like I remember you guys took me down to Baltimore for a preseason game, right? And I got to meet John Madden, and I was like, what? And what is this world that I'm living in right now?
Yeah.
And then across the season, I got to shake hands with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman and a lot of broadcasters, and the players were so super nice, except for David Deal. He was a jerk.
Really?
Listen, he's a good guy now, but he treated me like an intern during training camp in Albany.
David
kept spraying me with
Water.
water.
David Gabadillo.
Yeah, he kept spraying me with water over the course of the time. But anyway, my question is, at this point now, because again, I'm Eli and Antonio Pierce, and that roster that I got to meet was like time and time again, Bob Papa and hanging out with Carl Banks and shit. I was like, this is freaking wild. Is there anybody now, all your season years in there, is there anybody now that you're just like, holy shit, it's this guy? At this point of your life?
We've got a new crop of coaches that came in. Some guys left, some guys got other jobs, So we got now working for us Troy Brown, who was, receiver. And he was, and we were just showing clips in our team meeting today about Troy Brown.
Super Bowl MVP, right? Did he win MVP that one year? Yeah.
He might have been MVP, but he was he played defense too. He played safety, right? So we were showing clips of both sides. Like, dude, before Travis Hunter, this guy was
right.
Good. Now everyone's like, this guy was doing it, but he's worked. So he was like, oh my God, this is Troy Brown, so he's on staff now. And there's another guy who I like, another safety, Jeff Burris, who played 94 to early in 2000s. He went to Notre Dame. He was a first round draft pick in 94. I'm like, dude, I remember when he played. I always ask him now Notre Dame stories and blah 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 blah. So it's not like it's a wow thing, but it's it's pretty cool.
So let me ask you this. I know you can't. I'm not going to ask you, obviously, who's like Dave didn't like David Deal, but let me ask you, who are?
I like him now. It's all good.
Who are some of your favorite players over the years that the audience would know that were really either friendly to you, good guys, nice guys? I mean, a little Lifetime channel Venditti, who he got along with.
I think I got along with most. Like Eli was always a good dude, and then Daniel Jones when he got here. I think he learned. So there was a nickname I had that an O-line coach back in the early 2000s gave me. Instead of Venditti, he used to call me Vendouche. So Eli heard that. Started calling me that forever. Still calls me that. And then Daniel Jones gets drafted. He hears it, so he starts calling me that.
Right.
So anytime so it's like he carried it on to that. So he would write and send me text, Vendouche, blah blah blah. He write letters with a Christmas gift. He write a little letter in there. Thank you, Vendouche.
I love it.
So,
I know
and that's a problem too, because when you get so attached to some of these players that you meet over the course of time. I remember when I was there, again, there's the who's who. They're a Super Bowl winning team, but I latched on to. Do you remember Jennings, the receiver in the preseason?
Yes.
Dude, he was the nicest.
Jennings? What was his name?
No, it was
Michael Jennings.
Michael Jennings. Dude, the nicest dude I've ever. He was there. It is. He's number 15. It's so funny because he rolls up. Now remember, we're in Albany in training camp, and this guy's an undrafted free agent. I'm pretty sure at the time, if I'm not mistaken, and he rolls up in the nicest car you've ever seen, and I'm just like, he wasn't even drafted. But he was like, dude, the moxie that guy carried around, you would think he was Des Bryant. You know what I mean? And it was great. But a lot of those guys, I still to this day, and I swear to this, Strahan, when he walked by me once with it was finally, he debuted the chin strap beard, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, my man, what do you think about this? And I was like, well, it's in, and it makes you look a hell of a lot younger, and I remember he was just like, yeah, I'm gonna keep that. Never got rid of it. Always had it for the rest of my life. So now that's on me. And
Dave Sturcho's responsible for
Jimmy, you'll love this one. You'll love this one. There was multiple days I walked into the job wearing a Rutgers t-shirt. And my guy, my favorite Giant was Sean O'Hara. That guy was the nicest dude in the world. And every time he saw me in the shirt from across I could have been on the 50 and he could have been in the end zone. Dude, awesome. That's an awesome dude. It's such a cool, they say don't meet your heroes. I met Jimmy. It was a horrible experience. I was like, like,
215 shows later.
Yeah, 200. Yeah. At first, I was just a fill-in, and now this becomes a career. But yeah, it's an awesome organization. I can't say enough good things about the Giants because even when I was there, I wish, turn back time, I wish I would have given it a little bit more, and maybe I would have landed something. But I was a kid. I was 21. I was, I was having fun, and like,
a lot of
it was
people.
hard.
Listen, just because it's the NFL, how many? The world is littered with people taking jobs when they were 21, and where did it go?
Right.
But I got another Venditti one. Now we're in our shore house, okay, behind Leggett's, which was known as the Leggett Shore House, okay. And Venditti shows up with a guy, not that big, not that tall, and he's like, "Yeah, it's my friend Matt." I'm like, "Oh, you mean the kicker for the Giants?"
Matt Dodge?
Matt Bryant.
Matt Bryant.
Matty B. So it was one of those. Sometimes 4th of July weekend, it seems like they're quick. There's only 3 days. But then if it falls on the right spot, I swear we were down there for 9 days for 4th of July weekend. You know what I mean? I guess it was on a Wednesday, so people took off on Tuesday, and nobody went to work there. It was like, and they don't work as much in the summer as they do once the season starts. So he shows up with Matt Bryant. We're like, dude, that's the kid. The funny thing was, we were into it for about 8 minutes, and then it was like, hey, Matt, go get me a beer. Like, he became, so with that, he shows up, right? And we're talking to him, and I had a lot of long conversation. What's it like to be a kicker? That's when he told me about once you're on a team and then you get cut, you get in a pool, and someone's kicker gets hurt, they fly you. He really told me the whole inside. But the funny thing was, it was like Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. Meanwhile, he's like flirting with girls at the bar. And the best part is, we're like, it's my friend Matty B. He's a kicker on the Giants. But because he wasn't big, and you said football player, most of the girls were like, get the fuck out of here. So I had to I was like the salesman. No. They signed a kicker for the Giants. Look him up. And there was no phones back then where you can look up people easy. And then, of course, he gave me a worn jersey I wore during a game.
That's cool.
And then what frustrates me the most is, so I'm sitting there all by myself watching a Super Bowl, New England versus, I guess it was Tampa Bay. I forget where he was. And Atlanta. Sorry, Tampa Bay. Okay, Atlanta, right? They cross. They get across the 30-yard line, and they flash something. They cut to Matt Bryant warming up in the net, and it says, "No kicker in the NFL has been as accurate as Matt Bryant inside the 40-yard line." Right? I'm like, my boy Matty B's gonna win this thing. And then it went from first down at the 36, and then it was 3rd and 74. They were at their own 10 within seconds. I was like, "What did you just do? Oh my God, Matty B!" I had him kick it right there. But I tried to call him. I know Matt Bryant had some. He ended up kicking in the NFL, I think, for 13 years.
Yeah.
And I tried to. He gave me his cell phone number. We texted for years, but I know he had a couple of tragedies in his life with his kids getting sick and I think even dying. I'm not sure. And I have not. Have you talked to him or?
I have not talked to him. I have not. No.
If you ever, he'll remember me for sure.
Yeah,
we had a lot of laughs that weekend, but that was the kind of thing. Venditti would show up with a Giant.
Do you remember? He ended up. He got cut by the Giants, and then he went to Tampa, but he would come back. In the summer, he'd come back for a weekend. Go down the
those memories are forever. They just try to.
Well, he knew. First of all, it was Sodom and Gomorrah for sure, but he was hooking up. Matter of fact, I could say this on the air. I think he hooked up with the girl from News 12. Do you remember
her name? Yeah.
No names. I couldn't tell you what her name. All of a sudden, he was talking to her. I'm like, oh, that's a chick who was on News 12. Next thing you know, they disappear. He comes in the morning. I'm like, dude, did you hook up with the girl from News? Which you know what's funny about it? Wasn't
you got a great story out of it.
It wasn't Eyewitness News. It was News 12. Back when News, I was saying, and he was a real, oh my God, we roared at and then remember my buddy Tommy got mad because he was an NFL player and he really wasn't chipping in for beers. So my buddy Tommy's like, hey, I like the guy because Tommy's a Steelers fan. He goes, I'll throw him the fuck out of the house if he doesn't give any money. So I had to go up to Matt Bryant and go, hey, Matt, you've been here for like 4 days. You're getting laid. You gotta, if you notice, everybody's bringing beers into the house.
I know what the league minimum is nowadays. So at the very least, hello.
Yeah, how about a little case of Miller Lights? That's all you got to do, bro. Oh my God.
Do you remember it was had to be Memorial Day weekend or something like that. It was raining out. It was a Sunday. We couldn't go out. Matty Bryant's down there, and he had a rehab. He was rehabbing his leg.
Right.
He got a bounty, towels.
Right.
To elevate his leg.
He took a paper towel roll because we had no facilities for an injured NFL player in our short house. Okay?
Yeah.
And he put a little paper towel, and he sat for 7 hours on the couch drinking with his foot on a paper towel. Right. And finally, by the time he's like, "What the fuck is he doing with his foot on top of a paper towel rack over here?" And then we watched some black and white movies together.
We were watching Patton. We were watching. He's watching it with us.
Oh my God, so funny. Now, since we have Venditti on, and I don't care how long this show goes.
You don't care, Jim.
I don't care.
Yeah,
Dave,
it's not like I don't have a life. But go ahead.
I'm gonna make Dave have no life for a few more minutes. We have to talk since we didn't talk about it at the top of the show, and I know Steve is a huge New York Knicks fan. How great was last night as a Knicks fan?
It was so much fun. I went in there thinking they were going to lose by 20, right?
We all did, and they were down by 20.
And it started out that way. All right, so this is what to expect. But then I'm yelling. Third quarter, I start yelling at the screen, not because I'm a Knicks fan and I was happy, but I'm yelling at Tatum, and I'm like, why are you still shooting threes? You do anything you want on the court, you're launching threes, not even from 23 feet, from 28 feet, from 30 feet. Stop. And then they call a timeout. What does Missoula do? Same game plan.
I know.
I think it was Brown was like 0 for 8 at one point. I think he made his 9th attempt.
I realized last night that I have an issue.
You do.
I'm going to call it the Rutgers effect. The Knicks cut in a playoff game against maybe one of the better teams in the league from 20 to tying the game, and I couldn't get over that. I still think Carltown stinks. I couldn't.
It's the worst part is, Steve. No, the worst part is, Steve. I'm getting this in text form. Like now, I'm getting bombarded. And we were both tapping out when they were down 20. I said, man, it's over.
Dave, by the way, you were like, I'm out. They suck.
I was like, this is going to be bad. Like this is getting worse.
Right.
Horrible.
I realize that I can't. I'm at the point now with again, because Rutgers always loses. The Giants haven't been good in quite a while. The Yankees forget. But it's another story I'm going to get to. And I'm like, even when they won the game, I was still like complaining about like Robinson not hitting free throws. Like I'm at the point where I can't enjoy. I should just sit back and go, what a wonderful day sitting on my couch with a couple of margaritas, Cinco de Mayo for 3. And I'm watching it and I'm sitting there and they win the game and I'm still complaining about like minutia. And then I had the balls to switch to the Yes Network. And I'm looking at Yankee Stadium. Instead of being good, Yankees up 3-0, we're done. Yep. I'm looking at the crowd going, who the hell went and took their kids to a Yankee game on a Monday night with the Knicks playing? It's 48 degrees. It's been raining since 2 o'clock. They look miserable. And then Williams comes in, and next thing you know, Yankees lose. I'm thinking, I can't even enjoy the Knicks winning. I had to switch to another shit game. I was like, something's wrong with me.
The fan brought WFAN, Boomer and Gio brought that up today. Like Gio said, there's a stigma around the Knicks that you can't stay positive for more than like 10 minutes because you know that there's something else that's about to go down. And like the last night was a perfect example of that. Nobody had the Knicks coming back, winning, down 20, coming all the way back, roaring back, and just OG and everybody, and Bridges playing out of his mind. But the one thing that I turned it on the way to the gym today, and I hear Gio, you know what though? It's the Karl Anthony Towns. I was like, no. Like, why is this happening? I was like, you had 4 guys on the floor last night that played out of their fucking skulls, right? They played absolutely good ball. And the next thing you know, you got people talking about how Karl Anthony Towns went missing. And I said, can't anybody say to themselves, like, you know what? We won game 1 on the road, despite the fact that we didn't have Karl Anthony Towns do some productive work. So what if Karl Anthony Towns does what he did at Detroit in, like, I think game 2, I think he had a great game. If he does that, we win that game in regulation by 7. You know what I mean? So it's like,
I know.
Why can't people just enjoy this shit a little bit?
It might be. I swear to God, last night's game. I mean, the number one game of all time is obviously Willis Reed limping out, but I think that game might be in the top 5 of Knick games of all time. Maybe the John Stark game when he dunked over Jordan. We lost that series. I'm just saying, like, that game was so enjoyable, and here I am, like, ripping on Thibodeau for not going to time. I'm like. I realize that I'm one of those fans now. I mean, I've always been bad.
Do you remember my one text, Jimmy? You said something about Towns. I was like, shut up. He just committed the foul we needed.
Well, I thought I didn't realize we had a foul to give.
Yeah.
He just fouled. Because if that was a foul and a guy got 3 free throws, I would have drove to Boston and said, Carl, you're done. You're out of here. Again, you were like, no, we needed that one. I'm like, oh, yeah.
I was like, no, that's a good foul. He just did the right thing.
And how about the tip-in that Karl Anthony Towns had? Everybody's like, oh, great tip-in. If you watch the replay, he jumped up randomly, and the ball hit his hand and went. There was no skill available.
Listen, man.
I know, but listen, of course, right away I'm thinking, all right, the Knicks, Celtics will win the next 4. Why can't we just enjoy it? Oh, my God. So I know. Well, the Yankees again. Although I did see Giancarlo running in the outfield last night. Did you see that?
Oh, good. I'm sure we'll get a report today that there's tightness, and he'll be out for the next 80 days. So
now Steve, are you a fan of Volpe? Because I'm not. Thoughts?
I thought earlier on. I know it's earlier on in the season, but even earlier, beginning part of the year, I saw his defense look so much better. Then he started making these errors, but I'm like, wow, he really worked on his defense. But then I was making all these errors. It's tough because I think people want him to be Derek Jeter, and he's not. I think it's too hard. And you just got to be Volpe. But no one's going to be Derek Jeter, right? So
no, it's shortstop. Shortstop in New York's always been, even going back to Rizzuto, it's always been a tough thing. Center field, Yankee State, DiMaggio, Mantle, that kind of thing. Bernie Williams. It's always been a tough spot, but I just think he looks the part. He's a good-looking fellow from New Jersey, Volpe. Looks like someone you go to DJs with on a Saturday. And then all of a sudden you're like, he hasn't got a hit in 5 days. Why are we so into this guy? I don't know. And of course, in the paper, I had to read some AA guy they signed is now he's playing in Somerset now. He's a shortstop. He's like 8 years old. And they're like, hey, he can replace Volpe. I'm like, I'm going to be mid-60s by the time this guy makes the MLB. Yeah. Oh, my God. All right, Venditti. Listen, I can't how's your son doing? You guys are living over there in Belleville?
I'm in Nutley. Yeah, in Nutley. Yeah, it's good. I was trying to help with his homework last night.
You can't do his homework. You couldn't do his homework when he was in second grade.
Math homework, right? That he needs help with. That's who knows math? Who knows algebra graphs and plotting graphs and
brutal.
So all you do is Google it, right? And all right, you're trying to figure it out. And then once you kind of get it, now I'm trying to kind of teach him sort of in a way, and I don't know how to teach it because I'm just learning it now.
You went on to like AI, and you're like, here, answer this equation.
Do you say things to him like, well, it's like fake short go long or a button hook? You go, you remember a button hook?
Oh yeah.
So we're doing the homework, and it's just tip off, right? So I don't even have the game. I don't even put the game on yet because I know I'm going to be distracted. So there's something else on, and we're doing it. And all I'm getting is texts from you guys.
Oh yeah.
My thing's just buzzing. 20 minutes. I'm trying to help this kid with his homework. He's into the game too because he's like, he's a Knicks fan, and so we're like, let's get this freaking homework done so we can put the game on, But I'm just like 20 minutes.
I know. I have to shut it off sometimes. I'm sure I text Dave.
Shut it off. He relate. You know what? When you guys stop answering him, I get the fucking the third degree.
I know. Dave,
this guy stinks. Look at this thing. I'm like, oh my God.
Dave's probably reading the Golden Book of Cinderella to his daughter, and then town stinks. Now, does your son is he into sports or is he not really
Yeah, he's not. Okay. He's not. Yeah, he loves sports. He follows basketball. He follows everything, right? And he's so into it, and he's obviously a Knicks fan and all the Yankee fan. and I got him into fantasy. I was doing, I do fantasy. I was showing him years ago how it's he ended up, he took over my team, my fantasy team that I do with employees here, and he won last year.
Again, fantasy football, the ruination of American sports. Oh my God! Now, who did you have in the Kentucky Derby?
Jesus Christ!
Hey, Steve, me and Steve used to laugh about WFAN 25 years ago, on a Friday afternoon, where everyone's talking about sports and all this. Francesa and my dog would spend 25 minutes talking about trainers and I tell you what, Mikey, no, they did well down at Belmont last year. And I used to say, who is enjoying this and traffic on the BQ? Talking about of course, what do? I listen to Mike Francesa's podcast. I think it's one of the best sports podcasts out there. No, it's free. It's great because he does it. It's something I want Dave to do next year.
He's been saying it for fucking 10 years.
Yeah, right after the Cowboy game, Dave should say what he thinks.
I do. I get on. Shut up. Go ahead.
So Francesa comes on, and all of a sudden, I can't follow the app on the phone. I end up on the Kentucky Derby preview, and I'm like, oh, my God. I'm listening to this. I'm like, this is awful. Nobody knows. There's 11 horse racing fans in America right now. But guess what? There he is. Who's the horse that won it?
Accountant or some shit? Or
shit. Can't think of it.
Who cares?
Sovereignty.
Sovereignty Bank. Go ahead.
He actually called it perfect. He predicted exactly that. He goes, I'm taking him. Second place is going to be Justice, whatever the hell it was. He actually broke it down. I was like, oh, my God, Francesa. But I'm thinking, nobody's listening to this. Oh, my God. Anyway, listen, Steve, friend of the show always.
It's good to catch up, man. Good to catch up.
You got it, man. Go Giants, baby. This is going to be the year.
Appreciate it.
All right,
that for 10 years. That's all right.
Later, Steve.
Tell everybody I said hello. All right, Steve Venditti getting involved. And now we got to be quick here. OxyMagicUSA.com. Go get your filthy carpets clean right there. My favorite part of the show is you pointing to the end. I think that's we have that in a what do you call it? A meme?
Yeah.
In a meme? Put
A
it in
meme.
a meme
Yeah,
here,
meme.
Shay. Oxy Magic USA.
That was a blast from the past, man. Talking to Steve, that's crazy.
He's got more
another
stories. It's
another lifetime ago, bro. So crazy.
he has Thurman Munson's catchers.
I know. It's the best part is that I'm sorry, but the greatest story I may have ever heard is the Maris ball. Like that's
unbelievable.
Insane.
It's not the right ball. And I'm telling you, that was the ball. Like I think it's in the Hall of Fame now. Maybe I don't even know. It's not the right ball. I love it.
Right.
It's just such a time from long ago. We covered. The Yankees stink. We covered that. Cornholelevel.com. Go there for your cornhole needs. May 30th, I'll be in Avenel. Come on, everybody. Buy some tickets. I can't have Tyson Hogan and Darryl Clark buy tickets and not even show.
My favorite is you were like, who's coming? And your sister was like, me. And I was like, no,
I got my sister coming.
Well, you got a choice.
We're going to talk about that right after. Also, May 9th, Friday, I'll be in Ramsey. If anybody wants to come down and check me out at the Knights of Columbus with Kevin Israel and Ryan Marr, another cool show. I got to give a shout out to my daughter, Natalie, who danced in Trenton all weekend. The worst. Trenton sucks. Sorry.
I don't know how you do that.
What are you going to do? You're a dad. You show up.
I understand that, but it's just like, you're like, oh, here's Natalie's dance schedule, so you know. And I'm like, what?
Well, I was trying to get you to watch on Zoom.
No, their feed. First of all, their feed was horrific. So it was like every jump they would like freeze, and then like next thing you know, like another dance crew was on. I'm like, what the fuck?
It worked. My mother and sister had no issues.
Maybe it's
all right. Well, anyway, in 2 weeks we're in Somerset. I sent you that one because I'd love.
I told Stella about it.
If you could just come down for an hour and now
I told Stella about it. She lit up like the 4th of July. I was like, maybe Natalie can take you in the back and show you around and whatever. I don't know what she does. If she has a gap. Somerset is literally a rock's throw. So
like
we're good.
Ukrainian center. And Natalie did well. A couple of platinums getting involved here from the Omni. What else? Oh, don't forget Absolute Eyewear getting involved. Wearing the glasses right here. On 42 Main Street, Woodbridge, New Jersey, 732-326.
Eyes.
There you go, 3937. Again, 732-326-3937. Do not forget about Janine and Craig Michaud, the best opticians in the biz. Also, Pine Tar Bar and Grill in Fork and River. Go see Tommy and tell him stories about the Short House. And, of course, Lisa Ruane, if you're having some trouble with life, therapist, give her a shout, 201-725-1251. And One Bite Creative, if your website sucks. So basically, if something sucks in your life, you listen to my show and you get help. That's how it works.
And then you realize, damn, I'm listening to the Jimmy Palumbo Show at 1 o'clock on a Tuesday. My life sucks.
My life sucks, right. Now, have you watched Black Mirror on Netflix yet?
No, I just finished the final season of You.
Okay.
I watched that. I binged that. That was
You have
intense.
to promise me before next week's show you'll watch Black Mirror. The first
How's
episode.
Black Mirror?
It's a show on Netflix. Listen to me. It's Jimmy Palumbo here live. The first season, the first show, give it 6 minutes. And you're definitely going to text me going, what the?
Wait, Black Mirror?
Black Mirror. It's a hit show. It's only 30 episodes, but they did it in like 7 seasons. So it's really only like 3 seasons.
So it's not new.
But but the last season just came out. So, but if you watch the first
Who's in it?
season,
Anybody I know?
Nah, there is stars in it. I'm in episode 3 or 4 now. If you like Twilight Zone and that kind of thing.
Well, that's what Tyson just said. It's a sci-fi Twilight Zone.
Right. But I know Tyson watched that first episode. It'll blow you away. It's so weird that you're going to be like, oh my God, I have to watch this to see what it ends up. Anyway, it's a great show. And that's it. That's all I got. We're running late as usual. Go Knicks tomorrow night. You know what? We're playing with house money now. Let's, you know what I want Wednesday night? It'd be great. Like 4 minutes to go. And the Knicks are either down by 2 or up by 2, because then if you're like, oh shit, I just want to have the Celtics to have an.
I want to hang. Yeah, it's the game 2 you want to hang with. You don't want to get blown out because they're angry. You don't want them to shoot 80% from the floor. You know what I'm saying? Like those are the things you can't avoid. But listen, man, the goal is always to steal one on the road, and they did that. So we'll see what happens.
What is that line? It's not a playoff series until someone loses at home or wins on the road.
And the Knicks have been great on the road, which is kind of crazy. They can't win at home for anything.
And you know what's good about this winning game 1? Say the Knicks shit to bed and they lose the next 3, right? It's like 3-1, and then you win games. All of a sudden, it's 3 games. You just want to get the 3 games to 2.
I can tell you right now. If I had to make a guarantee or a bet or something like that, that the Knicks will not lose 3 straight games. They won't. This is not going to happen. So even if they take 1 of 3 and this series is 2-2, it is anybody's series, man. I really like they made the Celtics shooketh last night.
Yes. By the way,
they were a little off their beat. They're like, whoa, hold on. We beat these guys all year. Like, why is this happening now? Like,
and keep in mind, even if the Knicks go up 3-0, they could still lose a series.
No, they can. I'm sure they can, but I don't see them losing 3 in a row. So I think
Tyson Hogan just texted something. He's right. I feel remiss I didn't bring it up. Happy Mother's Day this Sunday to my mother, Eileen Joan Palumbo, and to Dave. You could say something about your
my
moms and your bonus
amazing,
mom.
My amazing bonus mom Barry, my mom, and of course the mother of my children, my wife Stephanie, who's rocking it every single time. And actually a special shout out to my daughter Stella for being chosen as Student of the Month for April. My kindergartner. She's absolutely honored. She deserves it. She deserves a Mike Breen.
That's great. Student of the Month.
Yeah, Student of the Month, man. And you know what? It's not one of those participation trophy type things. You know what I'm saying? It's like they have to get one student, and she was selected, so she's rocking it.
That's true. Awesome. And your wife's name is Stephanie, and Natalie's mother is Stephanie. Happy Mother's Day to all. And make sure you call your mother, see your mother, do all that, because you never know. You just go see your mom on Mother's Day.
Yeah,
get flowers. Do all the bullshit.
Do the mom stuff.
And that's it. Of course, coming up next week, we're going to try to have another special guest. That's it. We're done. Good evening, everybody.
And good night.